It's me, it's Matty D, and I just wanted to start this video off by wishing everybody on my channel a very happy new year. We're 2 days into 2022. I know 2021 had its issues involving coronavirus still lurking around and causing a lot of hassle. I know that the world wasn't the best place in the year of 2021, but hopefully 2022, all this COVID will be behind us. We'll be moving out of the lockdowns and restrictions and everything, and everyone will have a much better year. So before I get into today's WCW Nitro, which is October the 16th, 1995, which was, my goodness, it was now 27 years ago, I just thought I'd wish everyone a very happy new year, because hopefully it's going to be a good year. That's all I can say. Hopefully you all get everything you've wanted from this year coming, and that it's really good for you. So, and whether you're listening to this or you're watching it, I just wanted to wish you all a really good one. But anyway, let's get into Nitro from 27 years ago. And this was a Nitro that was beaten by Raw. Raw got a 2.6 to Nitro's 2.2, which is quite surprising to me, because I thought this was a really good show. We have a World TV title match between DDP and Johnny B. Bad. We have Chris Benoit's debut against Eddie Guerrero. And we have a really good, well-built-up main event match between Ric Flair. Sorry, I'll name the first team they're taking on, between Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman against Ric Flair and Sting. This is quite something to see these two wrestlers team up together. Sting and Ric Flair haven't teamed up for 5 years at this stage, since 1990. So them being together is such a big deal, and it's hyped up well during the show. Can Sting trust Ric Flair? Will there be a beatdown? Will Sting even appear? And I thought the storyline was handled so well that it would have kept viewers coming back. But alas, it was only 0.4 of a ratings point, so things are very tight at this stage, and there's no real runaway leader yet, and I believe there won't be for quite some time. So anyway, we're live here. We've got Pepe dressed up all spacey, and Bobby the Brain asks Mongo to turn Pepe round, which he does, and when Mongo does, Bobby just says, "Oh, so that's where the battery goes." So I don't know if this is just like an old-fashioned joke that the battery goes up the dog's bum. Bobby kills me. He absolutely kills me. They mention about Flair and Sting and how they haven't teamed up since 1990, and they show highlights from WCW, I believe it's Pro, but it might have been Saturday Night, where Sting agrees to team up with Ric Flair this one time, and they didn't really show it, but they referenced it in commentary. Flair brought out little kids and Sting masks and with Sting face paint on, and really appealed to Sting's kind of, his decency. You can't let down the kids, all that stuff. He really guilt tripped Sting here, which would have been such a good segment to see more of. But Sting, he needs to make sure that nobody thinks that he's just this idiot for trusting Ric Flair. So he does tell Flair that if he betrays him, he's going to leave Ric Flair for dead. So Sting wants to make sure he doesn't look like a mug in all of this, which I think in the not so far away future he does end up making Sting look like a mug, but we'll reach there whenever we get to there. So DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, comes out for the World TV Championship. His theme is really cool. It's not that their Nirvana ripoff, dang 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 dang, that they eventually dubbed over his actual theme in the WWE Network. It's kind of like a rock and rolly theme. And there's a lot of talk in the podcasts I listen to, mainly the Eric Bischoff 83 Weeks podcast, that there is a whole lot of gimmicks going on with DDP. Like, he comes out in a very spacey outfit, he's smoking a cigar, he's dressed funny, he has his Battle Bowl ring eventually, and it feels like Diamond Dallas Page, he's trying to get something that will stick. He's out there with the beautiful Kimberly, his diamond doll, and the whole presentation, it's not as bad or as cringy as I always kind of imagined it was. Certainly the way Eric would talk about it on 83 Weeks, you would think it was the worst gimmick of all time. But anyway, he comes out and he's here with his wife Kimberly, they show highlights of a recent interview where DDP, I think he reveals that he cost Johnny B. Bad a United States Championship match against Sting. Johnny B. Bad said he couldn't get there because his car was damaged or his tires were slashed, and something Diamond Dallas Page said involving 4 tires being slashed when Johnny had always been saying it was only 3 meant that Johnny realized that DDP was the one behind it, and he knocked out DDP with one punch and just looked absolutely annoyed. And I love the Johnny B. Bad presentation. It's so old-fashioned. I've heard that it's just outdated, and that's why Vince McMahon liked it, because you know the way Vince always likes these outdated silly things. But I enjoy the presentation. He comes out with, I think, like a confetti shooter. He's over. The crowd are buzzing behind him. He makes his way to the ring, and unfortunately, while he's posing to the fans, DDP suckers Johnny with a big hit by the World Television Championship belt before the match even begins. Kimberly looks upset. She looks really unenthused by what DDP's done. She looks disappointed in her husband. She looks like maybe they're doing a storyline where Kimberly has a crush on Johnny B. Bad, and seeing Johnny be so badly treated by DDP here is a bit of an issue for her. So she is constantly selling just how reprehensible what DDP is doing is. DDP, he shows off with Johnny's shooter confetti gun. He pretends to pin Johnny for the 3 count. Kind of does his whole, 1, 2, 3, and then shoots the gun, which is a fantastic visual. I love that visual. But the match, unfortunately, is thrown out. They decide that, obviously Johnny B. Bad can't compete, but they will fight again at Halloween Havoc. So it's a good way to tease the match at Halloween Havoc. It's a good way to get some heat for DDP, and it was quite well done in my humble opinion. I know these two are kind of considered the most outdated, worst gimmicks that Eric really needed to move away from whenever the NWO came around and reality-based wrestling came to the forefront, but I really enjoyed this piece of corniness, the same way I enjoy the Hogan corniness, which I will talk about very soon. So it's time for a huge match. It's Eddie Guerrero, who I've covered recently as one of my all-time favourites. I just love Eddie Guerrero, versus Chris Benoit, who... I discussed this in my last video. Benoit was one of my heroes. He was one of my favourite wrestlers. I absolutely loved him whenever I started watching SmackDown in 2003, 2004. Kind of until Chris Benoit died. That was whenever I got into wrestling. And I loved how real he was and how intense he was. And obviously what happened, it broke my heart, to be quite truthful with you. So this is it's Chris Benoit. It's always enjoyable to watch him, but sometimes it's hard. So, babyface smiling, energetic, mustached Eddie Guerrero comes out. There's not much sizzle to his presentation here, except for the fact that he's a good wrestling man who knows how to wrestle. Really good. Benoit comes out, he's got his mullet on, and he's got his theme, I believe, that he kept in WCW for his entire career, which was very famously used in a porn video. That I remember listening to Chris being interviewed on by, I think it was The Sun, whenever they did a wrestling podcast. They interviewed Benoit and brought it up to him that his WCW theme was used in a porno, and I remember Chris just being very intrigued and interested by that. So these two obviously have got a great history. I'm going to assume that Chris Benoit and Eddie have wrestled in Japan or on the Indies somewhere before this, because it just feels like Eddie knew that they knew Eddie would be able to get a good match out of Chris Benoit, and that's why they were chosen to take on each other in Benoit's big debut. This is gonna be good. They have such a storied history. They end up being best friends. Benoit and Eddie have the very famous, unfortunately spoiled now, hug at the end of WrestleMania 20, and they have such good chemistry with each other. And I am looking forward to this one, or I was looking forward to this one. So they start off with headlocks, then a bit of back and forth athletic chain wrestling. Eddie realizes that Benoit is going to counter his dive, so he kind of does that thing where he curls himself up like a tarantula in the middle rope, and then he just climbs up the top turnbuckle and dives onto Chris Benoit. Wow, this is great. Benoit, he starts to work as a heel. He hits impactful moves, certain suplexes, and just keeps posturing after them. Eddie gets a tornado DDT, but Chris is resilient and he goes for another hammerlock suplex. but Eddie counters it, falls on Chris Benoit, and almost gets a 2 count. I love that spot. I love this match. There is some stingy, painful sounding chops here between both men. Chris keeps going for Eddie's arm, and Eddie's selling it so well. He is just constantly, making sure it's obvious his arm has been hurt. Eric, he hails the Atlanta Braves for making the World Series and shows off that the Atlanta Braves will find out who they beat tomorrow. And there must be the other semi-final matches going on whatever TV station it was. So Eric's bringing up those Atlanta Braves, which was a Turner Network staple. And I really should have done some more research to find out exactly what the result was there. Maybe I'll drop it in next video. So Mongo says that we're dumber than dirt if we don't enjoy this match. To be honest with you, if you're a wrestling fan and you watch this match, I would be very surprised. So it's not the worst comment in the world, while Eric emphasizes that the C in WCW stands for commitment in bringing the biggest names around, the commitment in bringing the most exciting young stars in the business, and commitment in the best in-ring action, which is it's such a great advertisement for WCW, this match. This is while Eddie goes to the top rope. He tries to hit a frog splash, but Benoit does the whole knees up thing and stops that frog splash, gives Eddie a lot of pain with the knees. He suddenly turns Eddie around and hits the most awesome powerbomb you'll see for a 2 count. It was so... The crowd just went unglued whenever Benoit hit it. They really went on their feet. They knew that was a bad-looking powerbomb, no matter which way you slice it. It looked so devastating. But like I say, he only got the 2 count. Eddie looks so resilient here. Chris, he goes for another another powerbomb, which would have killed Eddie. But Eddie reverses it, only for Chris Benoit to hit that Snapdragon suplex and pin Eddie Guerrero with the bridge from the Snapdragon. What a match. 9 out of 10. Best match I've seen so far. Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit can go. I remember a match they had on SmackDown back in 2005, I think, that I loved. I remember their match at the first ECW One Night Stand, which was absolutely incredible and very short, so it's a good match to watch if you're like me and you have a bad attention span at times. I just love these two guys together, and what a treat that was. What a great choice to have that to be Chris Benoit's first ever match in WCW against Eddie Guerrero. Boy, it was good. They cut back to Eric Bischoff, who says that WCW are considering establishing a cruiserweight division. It's weird to see that they say cruiserweights like Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. We know Chris is, I think he's billed at around 270 pounds. Eddie's always billed just above that cruiserweight limit, despite the fact that he isn't really much bigger than a cruiserweight. So it just feels weird to hear those three classed as cruiserweights. And Bobby the Brain, I think he knows that I don't think he's particularly a big fan of a cruiserweight division, because he makes sure that we know watching that all these cruiserweights could clearly hold their own against the heavyweights, which props to Bobby for that. I do believe in cruiserweight divisions. I think they're always a good thing for a company to have, but big props to Bobby for kind of saying that, these guys can also hold their own against the heavyweights. Next up, Eric Bischoff pitches to Mean Gene Okerlund in the ring, and I thought we were going to have the Giant facing off against his Halloween Havoc opponent, Hulk Hogan, but unfortunately it's just the Giant and Kevin Sullivan being interviewed here. Oh, sorry, I got the wrong part. Eric pitches out to Mean Gene and says they'll have a word with the Giant. I thought they said Hulk Hogan, but whenever we cut to Mean Gene in the ring, he pitches the WCW hotline where he's teased that a top WWF executive has left the company, and that a certain in-ring talent, fought a fan in the parking lot and came out in the wrong side. So came out in the wrong side of things. So they're basically teasing WWF's wrestlers can't even hold their own against fans, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't think they would have had on the hotline if a WCW wrestler had lost a fight with a fan. They censor WWF here, which is strange to hear, because they don't do a huge amount of censoring nowadays on the WWE network. Like, they don't censor every WWF sign, as far as I know. So it was quite interesting to hear that. And Mean Gene is just being a bit of a schemer here. He's pitching that hotline and making WWF look bad while he does it. So what an absolute gem of a man he is. The Giant comes out here with the Taskmaster, and Kevin Sullivan explains that he's very evil, despite the fact he doesn't really sound like, he doesn't have that sinister James Mitchell vibe where he's very evil sounding. He just sounds like normal American man Kevin Sullivan, which is a bit different here. He says that he's evil and Hulk Hogan created him. There's actually huge chance for the Hulkster here, so this would have been a good show for Hulk Hogan to use one of his dates at and be there for, because the crowd want to see him, unlike recent weeks where there has been a fair smattering of boos in there for Hulk Hogan. He being Kevin Sullivan, pronouns pal, says that the Hulkster proved he has an evil side because he wore the black outfit with the black neck brace. There'll be more of this later, I promise. It's a good promo, but like I say, Kevin doesn't sound that evil. It's kind of corny as well. He says that the young Hulkamaniacs will soon follow the Dungeon of Doom, which no matter what happens to Hulk Hogan at Halloween Havoc, I don't think is going to happen. The Giant here cuts a promo on Hulk Hogan, and for such a rookie, he really does not need Kevin Sullivan. Giant is intense, he shows he knows his role, he's quite evil sounding here. He's chilled down some of the excitable laughing that he did in the last talking promo I seen him do, but I thought it was a decent promo, you know. He says that he's going to take out Hulk Hogan at Halloween Havoc and decides to show Mean Gene his hand by putting it in his face, which sometimes the hand in the face spot, you know, the Cali crush, it's portrayed as a very big deal, a very big threat to the announcers, but Mean Gene just seems kind of annoyed here, and he pitches back to Eric Bischoff. But good segment. The Giant is great at talking. I'm not too sure he needs the Taskmaster here. After they've shown an advertisement for the two matches at Halloween Havoc, the monster truck match between Hulk Hogan and the Giant, and the in-ring battle for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship between Hulk Hogan and the Giant match. I'm sure I jumbled those words. But we have a quick promo, and then we head down to a tease for what's happening on WCW Saturday night. They tease IRS versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Disco Inferno versus Alex Wright, whose careers just seem inexplicably linked at every turn. And very strangely, the Macho Man Randy Savage versus one of the most bizarre newcomers we've ever seen. I did a bit of research. It turned out to be the Man of Question, which is Hugh Morris's early gimmick in WCW. He is called Question. I think he's called the Laughing Man as well. He has a couple of strange gimmicks, Hugh Morris does, but I just had to know who this bizarre opponent was that Randy Savage had. And I believe from memory, when I did my research, Macho Man beat him, so that's a very good start for Hugh Morris in WCW. We cut to what's intended to be Meng versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan, but yet again, it's time for Disco Fever! Disco Fever! Yeah! As Disco Inferno comes out to dance. Not as bad as 2 weeks ago when he interrupted Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko, or when he was heavily involved in the already poor Road Warrior Hawk versus Big Bubba Rogers match last week. He's just interrupting Meng versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Bobby loves the theme. He's dancing and singing like me. But it doesn't last for long because Meng interrupts with his awesome theme. It's such a cool, foreboding, unique sounding theme that I would recommend anybody looks up on YouTube because I absolutely love it. But Disco Glenn Gilberti is not a fool. He gets out of Dodge as quick as he can to avoid Meng. Hacksaw Jim Duggan comes out to a great ovation, but Meng attacks him early to start the match. So that's us done with Disco Inferno for the day, which is great because he did get overexposed last week, getting involved in the Hawk and Rogers match, and I do like Disco Inferno, but I'd rather he was contained to his own things. So Meng, he wrestles intensely, but Hacksaw's kind of outrunning Meng. He's dodging all of his moves. Meng goes for an elbow drop. Hacksaw gets out of the way. He gets the advantage, and I have been such a big fan of Hacksaw for a long time. I watched Hacksaw Jim Duggan whenever I watched wrestling back in 2005 when he had a run on Monday Night Raw for 2 or 3 years. So I knew Hacksaw Jim Duggan a lot sooner than I knew a lot of the legends of the business because I was only exposed to WWE for so long. And I loved Hacksaw during his run. He seems to be just as kind of like, not to say he was quick paced or he was in great condition in 2005, but he doesn't seem to have degraded much in the 10 years between this and what I knew Hacksaw Jim Duggan to be. So Ming misses a top rope crossbody, which even Ming attempting that looked absolutely amazing. It's heated and it's more intense than I thought. Like, I imagine IRS versus Hacksaw to be a very slow, drawn out, kind of slowly paced out match at on WCW Saturday Night. But this is good. This is really good. Meng, unfortunately, he finishes quite quickly. He hits a deadly kick and then he latches on that golden spike submission and Hacksaw submits. Meng looks great here. He really does. 4 out of 10. It's a very short match, but it's a good exposure of Meng, and like I say, it's a lot quicker pace than I expected it to be, which is always a good thing. So next up, we have a Hulk Hogan pre-taped promo. He's in all black again with Jimmy Hart, who's also in all black. Hulk claims his appearance in black last week made the whole world stand still and shake in fear. It was so good. I hope anybody listening to my review last week watched it. It was absolutely fantastic. Nobody was shaking in fear though. Hulk keeps calling his viewers the Manioids. He's changed that away from Hulkamaniacs. He wants to be cool and, kind of different. He calls himself Don Corleone and that he's here to take care of the family business. It's so strange because it's portrayed as such a big deal that the Hulkster is now in black. But when push comes to shove, he's just pretty much the exact same Hulk Hogan. I think that's what makes the entire thing so humorous to me. He says that Hulkster, that is, says that what he's done to the Giant's dad will be nothing compared to what he's going to do to the Giant at Halloween Havoc. They're still going with Andre the Giant being the Giant's dad, which isn't as silly as could be, to be honest with you. It's not the worst thing in the world. That Jimmy tells Hulk, he kind of stops Hulk and calms him down for a second and tells Hulk that he's worried and he's afraid what Hulkster's going to do to the Giant and Taskmaster at Halloween Havoc. Hogan kind of brushes Jimmy off. He basically tells him to shut up, which is kind of rude, but it is what it is. It's just very hilarious. Hogan, he's still calling Big Show, or Giant, sorry, a big stinky giant. And he spits on the ground while Jimmy is just sitting here, like literally shivering like a mad thing. It's a good promo. It's very cheesy. But if you're a believer of Hulk Hogan, if you're interested by the black, which is, you have to kind of contextualize this. Hulk Hogan, for the longest time in his career, was always dressed in the yellow and red. And to see him in black, I'm sure it did kind of draw some eyebrows. So this is a good promo. It's cheesy as anything, but a lot of wrestling was cheesy back in 1995. And I'm kind of excited for Halloween Havoc. I won't be reviewing it, but I will be more than likely watching it just to kind of soak myself in the vibe of the show and see this monster truck match that has been built as well as you could possibly get it built. So next out, Arn Anderson and Pillman come out to the classic Horseman theme. I love this theme. I loved it. About a year or two ago during the pandemic, when 3 of my friends in my retail job, I referred to this as the Four Horsemen, and I kept listening to their theme song. Ric Flair comes out here. He's introduced with Sting by Dave Penzer, but Sting is not there. It's teased by the announce team that Sting's maybe changed his mind, but Rick, he's ready to take them both on. He starts wrestling. He starts the tag team match, no issues, no hiding away. He just says, right, I'm going to be a man here, and I'm going to take on Arn Anderson and Brian Pillman, even if I don't have Sting to help. So he starts off valiantly, but he starts to slowly be beaten down until Sting runs out. So the whole thing they're pushing here is that Sting wanted to test Ric Flair. Obviously, in kayfabe logic, if it's a trap, Sting isn't going to be going out there, if it's a trap and they're just trying to get Sting Arn and Brian aren't going to just beat Ric Flair to a pulp, which I think actually, well, will not spoil anything because I'm not too sure myself what actually does happen here. So that's the idea. It makes Sting look a bit smarter. Rick shows he's legitimate by fighting back. Bobby the Brain Heenan here calls Sting a coward, which is kind of funny. And Mongo, Steve McMichael, says maybe if you think Sting's such a coward, you could face him on, let him know to his face. And Bobby says he's not scared of Sting. And Eric quite funnily chimes in that Bobby's actually afraid of his own shadow. The commentary team is just great here. I love them so much. I love them forever and a day, as Hulk Hogan would say. Ric Flair, he makes the hot tag to Sting, and Sting mounts in a fantastic offense. It's just a big, proper babyface comeback. The wrestler who's had all the heat put on him gets that hot tag, and then the one-man Sting comes in and takes out two men at once. He takes out Flying Brian Pillman, who's selling his offense so well. He takes out Arn Anderson. He starts hitting those stinger splashes corner to corner. The crowd is buzzing. Everybody is loving this match. Mongo gets a great line here saying that he hasn't seen a house cleared as quickly or as well as this since the Republicans took over by the Democrats, which is an amazing reference. Although it might have been since the Democrats got taken over by the Republicans, because I'm nearly certain that Bill Clinton is a Republican, so it might have been the other way around, but it was a good line anyway. Really smart line from Mongo. Sting, he clotheslines Arn Anderson over the top, and he catches Brian Pillman on the top turnbuckle and throws him crotch first onto that top rope, and Anderson and Pillman just leave, which is cowardly, but they do have a tag team match, a rematch, this exact same match, taking place at Halloween Havoc, so they're maybe giving the fans just a taster to know that Sting will work with Ric Flair, while also keeping a bit of Arn Anderson and Pillman's heat, because they look ineffectual here for sure. After the break, Mean Gene Okerlund joins Flair and Sting in the ring. Gene references the reluctance on Sting's part to team with Ric Flair. Sting says to Flair that no one thought Flair could be trusted, and he felt like he was silly for even entertaining the idea of trusting Flair. So he decided to watch at the back, to just sit there and see how much guts Ric Flair had. And whenever he seen Flair fighting back and working hard, he decided to come out and help him. Flair, he really seems to appreciate the compliments. He's in full babyface mode here, and it's brilliant to see. Sting asks Ric Flair for a high five after they've both said they're going to destroy Arn and Brian Pillman at Halloween Havoc. And this is a really cool segment. I really enjoyed seeing the high five and the two men leaving together. Bobby the Brain is absolutely speechless here. He's completely, he can't talk. Mongo and Eric are so excited. Flair, he accepts the high five, like I say, and he tells Brother Stinger that he's the greatest, and then they leave together with Ric Flair sitting down in the middle rope and holding that rope open for Sting. I loved this segment. It was great. At least 6.5 out of 10 for this match, and I don't know, it was just very cute at the end. They cut to the commentary team, who is in a state of shock at this stage. Bobby is so angry at Ric Flair and Sting that he's telling them that they're going to get their what's handed to them at Halloween Havoc. He's absolutely livid. He's so fired up, he challenges Mongo to a fight. Mongo is kind of enjoying Bobby being so annoyed by this, and Bobby just says out of the blue, step outside with me and see what happens. But before we can see the match that everybody has wanted to see since watching Nitro between Bobby the Brain Heenan and Steve McMichael, Eric decides to ruin things and cuts to the lineup for next week, where Sting and Lex Luger, I thought it would have been Sting and Ric Flair, to be honest, to tease that storyline, team up together to take on Harlem Heat. Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko team up to take on Alex Wright and Eddie Guerrero. So this is going to be a good one. Alex Wright can hold his own for sure. And they also advertise that Hulk Hogan is going to be there. So that was a great Nitro. I enjoyed the commentary tonight. I really enjoyed the build-up to Halloween Havoc. The Hulkster in black, it's something that needs to be seen to be believed. It's fantastic. It's just a really good show, and that Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit match, I would recommend it. It's not the longest match in the world, but oh boy, do they pack a punch. But this has been Matty D's Nitro review, Matty D's Nitro Dream, and like I say, my dream is that you will all have a really happy new year and that things will go right for you. So thank you very much for checking me out. This is all I have time for today, but I will see you all again soon. Thank you very much for your support and Happy New Year to everybody, okay? Thank you.